Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our June 2026 full City Council meeting. Tonight's meeting is being held in City Council chambers and is being streamed live on City 12 TV, as well as the Facebook and YouTube pages. We also continue to post meeting information and materials on the city's website. The meeting will now come to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gruber. Councilmember Leslie Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Lupian.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Monroe.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Vice President Harris.
Here.
President Melendez.
Here.
Thank you.
So before we proceed with tonight's agenda, I'd like to take a moment to recognize that June is Gun Violence Awareness Month, a time when communities across the country pause to honor the lives lost and forever changed by gun violence. Rochester has made great strides to curb and eradicate gun violence in our city, but too many families still know the pain of losing a loved one to senseless violence. Today we stand with survivors, families, and advocates who work tirelessly to prevent further tragedy. I'd also like to acknowledge a few community members who we have lost this month. First, I'd like to acknowledge the passing of Jaden Reed, who passed away suddenly over the weekend. Jaden's mother, Barbara Rivera, is an advocate in our community and often graces herself here in council chambers advocating for the housing initiatives that she cares about. I'd also like to send my condolences to the family of Louisa Bars, a true social justice and language access advocate. Louisa served as the president of the Latino Rotary Club, among many other initiatives throughout our community. And finally, personal to me, I'd like to honor Don Kraling, my father-in-law, who passed away in May. Don served honorably in the U.S. Marine Corps and the New York National Guard. With all these remembrances, and all those who you all may have lost, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Councilmember Smith, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Council members, will you please join us at join me at the podium for tonight's recognitions? So will everyone here tonight who is here for Deviante Terrell please come to the front? Let's give a round of applause for Deviante. So it's very rare that we do one-person recognitions. But what I would like to acknowledge and honor tonight is that Deviante stepped up and stepped in when a fight broke out at the Lilac Festival this year, caring for people who found themselves in harm's way and in the wrong place at the wrong time. On behalf of Rochester City Council, we thank you for your heroic actions. Your quick thinking and urgency help keep people safe and reminded our community that it's always the right time to do what's right. You're a shining example of City Council's mission to build a Rochester of safer neighborhoods, quality housing, and access to opportunity. And we have this certificate in recognition from City Council. So next I'd like to call up Sean Burr to the front. Sean, you have served our city through the Rochester Housing Authority for 35 years. It is with great appreciation and sadness in equal measure that we wish you well in your retirement. City Council has prepared a proclamation in your honor for your decades of dedicated service to our community. I'll now read a few lines from this proclamation. Whereas Sean Burr has been a fixture of the Rochester Housing Authority since he began in 1991 as a public housing inspector. Whereas since that time, Sean has held many positions, including the current role as Executive Director, Deputy Executive Director, Director of Development, Capital Projects Manager, Senior Property Rehab Specialist, Building Maintenance Supervisor, and Property Rehab Specialist. And whereas he has positioned RHA to have a pipeline of rehabilitation and new construction projects to preserve RHA's public housing stock and to add new affordable housing units to its portfolio while providing quality housing opportunities for individuals and families. And whereas Rochester will miss having Sean at the helm of the Rochester Housing Authority, we greatly appreciate his decades of service and wish him well as he begins a new chapter. Sean, congratulations and thank you so much for your service to our community. Next, we'll have the approval of the minutes by Councilmember Gruber.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting on May 19th, 2026 be approved as published in the official sheets of the proceedings.
All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
The following documents are hereby directed to be received and filed. The council submits disclosure of interest forms from Councilmember Gruber on introductory number 184 and 256. President Melendez on introductory numbers 190, 227, and 237. Vice President Harris and Councilmember Lupien on introductory numbers 232, 240, and 242.
Thank you. Those documents will be received and filed. Now time for the reference and of petitions and any other documents. Any petitions?
There is one petition submitted to council related to the development of a Rock City shower center for the homeless. I'm passing it down.
Thank you. This petition will be received and filed. We'll now move on to introduction of an action upon local laws, ordinances, and resolutions. Regarding introductory number 256, authorizing an agreement for adult education and substance use counseling services for individuals and families. There is a disclosure on this item. Councilmember Gruber is appointed to the ABC board as a representative of council, but he must only disclose and can participate in deliberations and the vote. So, Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to 256?
Yes, these are part of the member items. It's a $1,300 member item directed to ABC, and I'd like to make a motion to allow introductory number 256 to be considered by the full council by waiving the referral to and discharge from a standing committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Let's vote on 256. Considering 256. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any further discussion, questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on introductory number 256. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 257, authorizing an agreement for affordable housing for refugees?
Yes, this is again a member item. It's a $1,300 directed member item to Rochester Refugee Resettlement Services. I'd like to make a motion to allow introductory number 257 to be considered by the full council by waiving the referral to and discharge from a standing committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let's vote on considering number 257. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any further discussion, questions, comments, concerns? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote on introductory number 257. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Councilmember Lupien, do you have a motion related to introductory number 258, authorizing an agreement to support East High School cheerleading teams?
Yes. I would like to make a motion to allow introductory number 258 to be considered by the full council by waiving the referral to and discharge from a standing committee. Can I have a second?
Second. Let's vote on the motion to consider introductory 258. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now we are considering. Any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, we'll move to vote on introductory number 258. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 259, authorizing an agreement for restorative practices and programming for Rochester youth?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to allow introductory number 259 to be considered by the full council by waiving the referral to and discharge from a standing committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. So we'll vote on the motion to consider introductory number 259. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any questions, comments, or concerns related to this item?
I'd like to make a comment.
Councilmember Gruber.
I think there's going to be a number of comments like this related to some items this month. I brought this forward along with Councilmember Monroe as a one-time bridge fund for teen court and other restorative practices that are led by the Center for Youth, knowing that we're going to need to find full support elsewhere in future years. This year, we're obviously bridging off of ARPA dollars. This was an opportunity. We funded teen court with ARPA dollars early on, and it was clear that they were in that the program's ability to continue is in a bit of jeopardy, given the fact that those funds are going to be terminated by the end of the year. Additionally, Center for Youth provides social and emotional supports in our rec centers and in the Rochester City School District, and in both places, some of those very counselors are seeing the end of their funding due to ARPA funds going away. we obviously can't be a bridge for everything, but given where we are with youth violence and the need for restorative practices, Councilmember Monroe and I put this forward, and I recognize that, and I'm going to be saying this multiple times tonight, that we need to do a whole lot differently when it comes to procurement considerations and timeliness of legislation. I want to thank staff for moving so quickly on this. And I know that Councilmember Leslie Smith has been incredibly vocal about the need to be doing things in a sustainable manner. And I intend to follow her lead and work with all of council on bringing some reform to these things, to how we handle these types of items moving forward. But right now, I hope that council is interested in supporting a one-year bridge fund for some of these critical restorative practices.
Any additional comments? Council members Martin, followed by Council Member Smith.
Councilmember Gruber, you have been a vocal opponent of using underruns to fund items that I think we would all agree are very important. Can you help me understand how you make sense of using underruns for this item, but while being oppositional to underruns for other items that I believe you would also deem important?
I don't think I've been oppositional to. I think that I agree with what Council President Melendez has talked about, that we need to direct as many of our underruns as possible back to the general fund and to fund balance, and I support that. I'm also going to support the summer camp that has been proposed later on this evening. I'm also at some point going to support the legislation that you brought forward related to refugee services. I think that there has been a whole lot done without a whole lot of process or structure. I appreciate the new eyes of Councilmember Leslie Smith and how she has kind of articulated some of the challenges with these processes, but I don't plan to be a barrier to any of those three items. I think we have the money right now, and it's critical for us to fund some things, and we also recognize that we're not where we need to be with fund balance, and we have to find the balance there as well.
Thank you. And last question, what are the specific, before I even go into that, was this sent via email? This is my first time seeing it, so I haven't had a chance to read it. I want to support. I may just need a few minutes to read it.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it was sent about a week ago. Is that right, Jen?
It's my first time seeing it. And what specific services would these items fund? Is it similar to the previous legislation put forth by President Melendez, where they're funding specific services, or is this just to fill a funding gap?
This is for operating costs for Teen Court and Bridge to Peace, which is a program in the building that is the former YMCA on Monroe Avenue that offers drop-in social emotional supports for young people, and it's also going to provide some dollars for Center for Youth to do training of our center staff as needed, considering our center staff will be doing more of the social emotional supports in rec centers moving forward as we bridge off of ARPA funding.
Thank you. So supporting existing services.
Funding specific projects with specific budgets, which was part of the submission.
So are they doing anything new with this funding, or are they continuing to do the great services they already do?
Well, one thing that is new is providing training opportunities, because currently Center for Youth is doing much of the social emotional supports within our city, our centers. That contract expires with all the other ARPA contracts, so they will be doing training of city, our center staff who will be doing a lot of that work moving forward. That is a new item.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
I'll just keep it brief. I just hope that moving forward that we will all take heed to Dr. Leslie's suggestions around how we go about spending the underruns. I was shocked, Mitch, actually, to hear that you wanted to invest an additional $100,000. After speaking to you on last Thursday, you were really adamant about Councilmember Stanley Councilmember Martin and I, around spending the underrun. So I just hope that next year that we all can live out what we speak about, and we can just be a better example as to how we should be managing the city budget moving forward.
President Melendez, I just want to respond to that quickly.
Sure.
I hope it's not next year, but it's next month. And I'd also note, Councilmember Smith, I've reached out to you a multitude of times to have this conversation. Councilmember Martin is the one who responded, but I would have loved to have anything that you were questioning the consistency of my words.
You and I spoke.
I would always be more than happy to answer anything if we have an opportunity to chat.
Mitch, you and I spoke last Thursday, me, you, and Stanley online, and we went over this. You had an opportunity to bring it up last Thursday. You did not. The first time we're hearing about this is like within the last couple of days. So, for me, I think a few days ago. But either way it goes, I just hope that moving forward that you can be an example of what it is that you speak about when we're online together.
Fair enough. Any additional final comments? All right, I'll move introductory number 259 to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Chairperson Patterson, the Neighborhoods, Jobs, and Housing Committee report, please.
Thank you. To the Council, the Neighborhood, Jobs, and Housing Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 180, authorizing the sale of real estate. Introductory number 182, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Business Development Financial Assistance Program. Introductory number 183, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Neighborhood Commercial Assistance Program. Introductory number 184, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for street liaison services. Introductory number 185, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for foreclosure prevention services. Introductory number 186, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Home Rochester Program Management and then the Community Housing Development Organization Reserve Programs. Introductory number 187, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing an agreement for tenant landlord services. Introductory number 188, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreement for aging in place projects. Introductory number 189, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing an agreement for senior legal services. Introductory number 190, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. Introductory number 192, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for a home buyer training program. Introductory number 183, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Emergency Solutions Grants Program. Introductory number 184, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Demolition Program. Introductory number 185, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Emergency Assistance Program. Introductory number 196, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Lead Hazard Control Program. Introductory number 197, appropriating 2026-2027 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Owner-Occupant Rehabilitation Program. Introductory number 198, amending ordinance number 2025-107 related to the sale of real estate. Introductory number 199, authorizing a license agreement for the use of city property as a community garden for the Southeast Area Coalition, Inc. Introductory number 200, authorizing an agreement with NextCorps, Inc. for economic development services. Introductory number 201, authorizing an agreement with Greater Rochester Enterprise, Inc. for economic development services. Introductory number 202, authorizing the acquisition of 503 River Street. The Neighborhood, Jobs, and Housing Committee recommends for consideration the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 181, approving the 2026-2027 annual action plan. Introductory number 191, authorizing substantial amendments to the 2018-2019 annual action plan and appropriating 2026-2027 annual plan funds for home buyer assistance. The Neighborhood, Jobs, and Housing Committee recommends for the following entitled legislation to be held in committee. Introductory number 235, amending the 2025-2026 budget, appropriating funds, and authorizing an agreement for emergency housing and case management services for immigrant families. This report is respectfully submitted by myself, Michael A. Patterson, Council members LaShonda Leslie Smith, Council member Mary Lupian, Vice President Shay D. Harris, and President Miguel A. Melendez, Jr.
Thank you, Chairperson Patterson. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 180, authorizing the sale of real estate. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 181, approving the 2026-27 annual action plan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 182, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Business Development Financial Assistance Program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 183, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Neighborhood Commercial Assistance Program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 184, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for street liaison services. There is one disclosure for this introductory. Councilmember Gruber is appointed to the Action for Better Community Inc. board. As a representative of council, he must disclose only and can participate in discussion and the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 185, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for foreclosure prevention services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 186, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Home Rochester program management and the Community Housing Development Organization reserve programs. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 187, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreement for tenant and landlord services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 188, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreement for the Aging in Place project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 189, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing an agreement for senior legal services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 190, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the Housing of Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program. There is one disclosure for this item. I'm a board member for Trillium Health, but not in an ex officio capacity, so I'm recusing myself from deliberations and this vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I abstain. Any in opposition? Motion carries 801. Introductory number 191. Authorizing substantial amendments to the 2018-19 Annual Action Plan and appropriating 2026-27 Annual Action Plan funds for home buyer assistance. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 192. Appropriating 2026-27 Annual Action Plan funds and authorizing agreements for the housing or home buyer training program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 193, appropriating 2026-27 Annual Action Plan funds and authorizing agreements for Emergency Solutions Grant Program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Introductory number 194, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the demolition program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 195, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the emergency assistance program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 196, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for lead hazard control program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 197, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing agreements for the owner-occupant rehabilitation program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 198, amending ordinance number 2025-107 related to the sale of real estate. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 199, authorizing a license agreement for the use of city property as a community garden with the Southeast Area Coalition Incorporated. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 200, authorizing an agreement with NextCorp Incorporated for economic development services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 201, authorizing an agreement with the Greater Rochester Enterprise Incorporated for economic development services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 202, authorizing the acquisition of 503 River Street. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Chairperson Gruber, the Budget, Finance, and Governance Committee report, please.
Wait, hold on. I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory 235 out of committee. President Melendez, that was directed at you.
Is there a second? Seconded. So then we will vote on discharge from committee. Roll call.
Councilmember Gruber.
No.
Councilmember Leslie Smith.
No.
Councilmember Lupian.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Monroe.
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson.
No.
Councilmember Smith. Yes. Vice President Harris.
No. No.
President Melendez.
No.
President Melendez?
Yes.
Meg.
Councilmember Gruber.
Just a comment, please. As I said before, I have no interest in being a barrier on this $125,000 being spent. I think that the no RFP justification that came before us, the amendment that just came before us, and the backup documentation that came before us for this legislation does not indicate precisely what the 125 is going to be spent on. Even the amendment that just came in, which I appreciate, Councilmember Martin, it's explicitly based on the conversation we had. I want to acknowledge that. It does not yet firm up what each organization will be spending the dollars on. I am committed to working, I hope, with you, if that is amenable to you, to get this legislation in order for next month to be able to pass. And I'll also note that given where we are right now with the documentation that has been submitted, I would be shocked if we'd be able to get contracted on any of this stuff for the next 2 to 3 months anyways, because the contracting process, as our staff can certainly attest to, does not allow for us to pass something like this, which is an approval of dollars, to not have a contract baked and to get money out to organizations within a month anyways. So I'm hoping that we can get money to the three organizations that run peer-led services for refugee refugees and new Americans in Rochester. I'm very grateful for the work that you did on this, including the amendment that has been put in front of us. I just think it needs a month to be able to put together what we're actually spending the money on and why those breakdowns are what they are. I think that'll help us with contracting too.
So Councilmember Martin, followed by Councilmember Lupien, followed by Councilmember Leslie Smith.
So I just want to start by acknowledging the organizations in the room today who do an excellent job saving lives of immigrants in this community. Many of you know I come from a family of immigrants, so to see the work you do, it just means the world to me, especially in this position, so I'll start by saying thank you. Next, when I first introduced this ordinance, it was at $125,000 for one organization. After conversations with Mitch, including a conversation last night, Mitch and I landed on numbers. Initially, I wanted to use underruns to increase the amount to make sure that each organization got more. As all of you were here know, Mitch had made a big fuss about not using our underruns, except when he wants to use them. So based on that conversation and Mitch's guidance, Mitch actually reached out to the Chief of Staff, James Smith. Thank you, James, for your help, by the way, to share what these amendments would be. After Mitch reached out to him, James and I checked in. I said, yes, the numbers that Mitch sent are okay. So to now go around and say, well, this is something Councilmember Martin did, I completely followed your lead on this. Again, I said it. I wanted to increase the amount using underruns. I wanted to work with you and collaborate with you. So I am truly stunned that this is the angle you're taking on it. And I think we should just be really honest about what this no vote is about, right? And I'm going to be honest about it because I think I owe that to the community. And these are real lives we're talking about. Last night, I had a meeting with council members Melendez and thank you, Mr. Patterson. And in essence, what the meeting was about was if you do not vote to lease School 29 to the charter school, then we're not going to move this forward. So essentially, this ordinance is being used as a bargaining chip because we said no. When we said no to selling the school, we also said we are interested in leasing it. When you came to me and talked about it, President Melendez, I said when I had previously had meetings, I was open to leasing. Based on my political position, I believe public property should be kept within public control. So I was open to leasing, but not selling. I made a commitment to the students that despite me saying no, I will be open to finding other ways to do this. Again, I think it's important that we know how politics happen. It's important that the public knows the reason that this introductory to fund life-saving services for immigrants is being rejected today is not because of what Mitch said. It's not. This resolution is entirely what Mitch wants. You can look at emails, you can check call records. This is all Mitch you're seeing here. So I still went with him and supported it. So the truth is, my no on leasing the building for 30 years in this moment is being used as a tool to not fund immigrant services. I was hoping things would be different tonight. Mitch, I was hoping you would be honest and at least not try to throw me under the bus because I worked with you again and again, called, talked about how much, literally said, you know what, just drive this. I'm going to let you win, word for word. And we're here today with this language that you proposed, with the two organizations that you suggested I talk to, that you raised on the record in this body. So again, this is how politics work. Things are very dirty behind the scenes. And I really, again, want to thank all the organizations who are named here, who are doing incredible work. But for me, it's really important to know this isn't about the merit of your work. This isn't about the amazing things you do for our community. It's simply being used. People's lives are being used as a bargaining chip. And I'm deeply sorry that this is what this body is about.
So I'm going to keep my order. And Councilmember Lupien, followed by Councilmember Leslie Smith. I have a comment. I have Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember Gruber.
I mean, I don't have much to add. That is the truth of what happened. We had people who had committed to saying yes, but now all of a sudden are no because it's being held hostage because of the charter school position. You all don't have the amendment in front of you, but it is very clear on what it is funding. Material emergency immigrant support services for just refugees that include mental health counseling, legal advocacy, youth education, and essential community support. And it goes down to follow to say refugee services to provide services to refugees through housing, education, career advancement, and other supports. This is much more specific, Mitch, than the reasons, the justifications you gave for the Center for Youth. So I would like us all to be honest, and Councilmember Patterson, I expect you to be perfectly honest, but what I ask you is to be civil, because this is not, just because you have a microphone does not mean that you have the power to abuse verbally your fellow colleagues.
Councilmember Leslie Smith.
So I can't speak to what anyone else's no was, but I was very, very clear in the folks that I communicated with on how I felt about this. And my no of bringing it out of committee right now is because I believe that each one of these organizations deserves equal attention. So there's, for me, a lot of disparity in the amounts that's going to the three different organizations. And if we have a no RFP justification, which is information I've shared before, I do believe that we should be providing equality across these different organizations. So I would be amenable to conversations around how do we get each of these organizations to the exact level of financing, as opposed to saying that one is deserving of more resource than the other. Those are my comments. I'm pretty consistent. I stand by that. And so I'm hopeful that that is the place that we can actually reach, so that one, we don't have this level of disparity. $10,000 can certainly go a long way, but $85,000 goes a lot further. And so if there is a way for us to get each organization on par, then I would prefer that. I'm saying all of this at the same time, as I've said with the previous legislation that we just passed, and even other legislation that we're going to be talking about, that I'm not necessarily in agreement with any of it, given the fact that our fund balance is where it is. I don't think that we are a program managers. I don't think that we are a foundation as city council. I think our job is to ensure strengthening the city programs that we currently have and allowing our administration to make some decisions about which organizations they partner with. Our job is to make administration aware of that, to increase and heighten their awareness, as opposed to this just kind of being a who you know. I also want to follow Councilmember Martin in saying thank you for the services that you provide, and my hope is to advocate for on par resources for each one of those organizations.
Thank you. So I'll jump in and just say, first and foremost, thank you to Refugees Helping Refugees for working with Councilmember Martin and others on council to put together this initial proposal, as well as Councilmember Gruber for working on trying to find ways to support additional organizations. I do think that this is an item that majority of council will eventually support. To echo what Councilmember Martin said, we did have a conversation last night, and frankly, I've been very transparent about this conversation with Councilmember Martin. We started with a couple weeks ago me finding out that there was even an appetite for a lease. I did not know that, and I understand that there may have been communications between Councilmember Martin and administration on that, but I was not aware of that, and I actually got permission to from Councilmember Martin to start the conversation about a potential long-term lease. At the time of that, and this is related to School 29, just to be clear, at the time of that conversation, the discussion was potentially a 10-year lease if that was amenable. I understand that the administration went back and met with the school, and nothing less than a 30-year lease, unfortunately, would be feasible given the lending that needed to happen and the fact that they're probably going to be investing upwards of $8 million into school number 29 should they choose to occupy it. So back and forth, after speak to council, had a conversation again about it. and negotiating, and part of the negotiation is to have a discussion about spending. I mean, the reality is, by not selling school number 29, we lost $3 million. Full stop. $3 million that we were anticipating that would have went to fund balance. And while the school may not sell, it is my hope that we can get to a point as part of this conversation that we can fund all things, both things. The three initiatives that are being proposed, that which yet to be amended, but that are being proposed, as well as support for moving forward with a lease at a minimum, if not a sale. I mean, $3 million is a lot of money when you have a significant underrun issue. So in saying all that, I want to make sure that I say that I do support our immigrant community, our refugees community, everyone who is doing work in that space to support people. But at the same time, I have a duty and obligation as a council member to the fiscal viability and accountability of the city. And that's the stance I'm taking tonight. And it's not a permanent stance. It's a stance that I think we can revisit over the course of the next couple of weeks. Council member Patterson, followed by Gruber.
Thank you. Councilmember Martin, I am so happy that you brought up our conversation yesterday, because our conversation yesterday was about the children, the 130 children that attend Rockside, who go to school in the suburbs, who, because of the vote of the socialist bloc of the Rochester City Council, will now still can be forced to attend school outside of the city of Rochester. When we have an empty building sitting that we have to defend, that they could well be rehabbing, that they could be occupying in the fall. So I will offer no apology to anyone for advocating for the 130 children that are city of Rochester residents that attend Rockside. Those are our kids. They need to go to school in our community. And yes, we need the $3 million. We can do good and do good and do good. And yet, the socialist bloc of the Rochester City Council is opposed. You have the right to be opposed. I can't make you change your mind. But votes have consequences. You have chosen this path, and this is the path we are on. To the folks in the immigrant community who we're looking to fund, as I said to Councilmember Martin yesterday, in a normal situation, this would have been passed and done. But I need those kids to go to school in the city of Rochester. And those children who have been disadvantaged by the actions of the three socialist members of the Rochester City Council.
Councilmember, I'm going to ask that we not categorize in that way.
All right, okay. Those children who have been disadvantaged by that vote, I feel we have an obligation to serve them. So 1 month, you vote against Rochester children, and the next month you come in, you ask for something, and we're supposed to ignore it? No, ma'am. That we will not do. Thank you.
Councilmember Gruber?
Yeah, I guess I just, first of all, Councilmember Martin, I'll direct this to you. Nothing about what I said was certainly intended to throw you under the bus. I said thank you for bringing this forward. I said thank you for taking the conversation we had last night and explicitly putting it forward in an amendment. I appreciate that. If my words threw you under the bus, it certainly was not my intention, and it's an apology. When we spoke last night, I had not a clue of all the other concurrent conversations that you were having. I've said since the first time this legislation was announced that I didn't think there was remotely enough clarity as to what was being asked of the individual organizations. I am 100% committed to getting the $125,000 spent amongst the organizations that we have in front of us, although I would echo Councilmember Leslie Smith's perspective on the parity between organizations. And despite your comments being directed at me personally, which I understand and will gladly accept, 6 people voted no on taking this out of committee. It wasn't me alone. There's not a majority for this yet. I'd like to help there be a majority for it. That's I'm completely committed to spending these funds. My intention is to work with you. Hopefully that's a thing that you'll be accepting of, and to build a majority. You just heard from Councilmember Patterson. There's other council members we haven't heard from. There's not a majority for this yet. I hope there will be. I hope there will be as early as next month, and I'm committed to working on that. I'm certainly not going to let these dollars languish and not be spent in the very communities that we committed them to be spent on. I'd also just add again, and I know this is a little bit wonky and in the weeds, the backup documentation that we got, and I think that council staff would acknowledge this, would not have led, as it is right now, to anything remotely resembling quick contracting. The legislation that has been put forward for other individual items, there's a whole bunch of backup documentation that went through central staff that is prepared to be contracted quickly. Even if this passed tonight, this is a commitment of dollars. It is not the development of a contract. I don't think that if this passed tonight, there would be a contract for 2 months, and I'm fairly confident that if we work together collectively, we can create a system where these dollars actually get spent, not committed, but spent quicker. And I'm committed to that, and certainly not intending to throw anyone under the bus, despite whatever comments are coming my way.
Councilmember Leslie Smith.
Yeah, I want to be abundantly clear that I sit in this seat as an individual. There is no alliance or collective process, at least with me involved, that's happening behind the scenes to leverage vote. Would I love for there to be a win-win situation? Absolutely. I want the kids of this city to be serviced. I want our refugee community to feel like they are welcomed and have the resources. For me, this is about equity. This is about ensuring that there is no disparity across the organizations. And, you know, I am not in agreement with the statements of my peer, Mr. Patterson, Councilmember Patterson. The whole notion that votes have consequences and that people should not be able to vote based on their personal convictions, their value system, is just a flawed system. And it's one that I very, very deeply thought so hard about before even deciding to run for politics, because this is the ugly side of this work. And no organization should be used as a bargaining chip. No young person should be used as a bargaining chip. Yes, our votes have consequences, but those should be based on our values, and wherever it lands, that should be okay. And I don't take kindly to people being called out of their names, to people being disrespected just because they have a worldview. That is the America that we live in. And the people who voted us in to this seat are hoping that we will stand on the values that we ran for. And so I do hope that this entire council would just take a minute to chill. Just chill. Because at the end of the day, we all should vote our personal convictions. And I'm committed to working with everyone on this council, whether I agree with your philosophy and life or not. At the end of the day, we are city managers. We are fiscal managers. It really should be about the process and ensuring that the resources get to the community. We are standing in our own way because we cannot shut our mouths.
Councilmember Martin. And this will be the last on this, and then we'll move to BFG.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie Smith, for your comments. I hear you, and I feel similarly. The last thing I will say, a lot of people today say we support the immigrant community, we want to see them do well. Support is an action word, right? Sitting down and say, I support you, when you have the opportunity to take action and actually do something to demonstrate tangible support, does not equal support. So our community knows what's going on. I think it's very clear here why this was held up following this discussion, but I am committed to continuing to fight for our immigrant neighbors alongside the rest of my colleagues.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to the Budget, Finance, and Governance Committee report. Chairperson Gruber.
To the Council, the Budget, Finance, and Governance Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 203, authorizing an agreement with Puerto Rican Festival Incorporated. Introductory number 204, authorizing an agreement with Rochester Community Baseball Incorporated. Introductory number 205, authorizing an agreement with Rochester Fringe Festival Incorporated. Introductory number 206, authorizing an agreement with the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra for public music performances. Introductory number 207, authorizing mandatory agreements relating to Infor public sector licensing, implementation, and managed services extensions. Introductory number 208, authorizing an agreement related to IT asset tracking and cyber exposure management solution. Introductory number 209, authorizing an agreement related to Microsoft Enterprise Agreement enrollment. Introductory number 210, authorizing an mandatory agreement to service the Children's Savings Account and other asset building programs. Introductory number 211, appropriating 26-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing an mandatory agreement for the Financial Empowerment Center. Introductory number 212, authorizing an appointment to the Rochester Civil Service Commission. Introductory number 214, authorizing an mandatory agreement with WXXI Public Broadcasting Council for broadcasting meetings of the City Council and Police Accountability Board. Introductory number 215, a resolution approving an appointment to the Board of Ethics. Introductory number 238, a resolution appointing a marriage officer. The Budget, Finance, and Governance Committee recommends for the following entitled legislation to be held in committee. Introductory number 213, authorizing an mandatory agreement for labor and employment legal counsel services for the police department as amended. Introductory number 236, amending the 25-26 budget relating to revenue from the school bus stop arm enforcement program. Introductory number 237, a resolution approving the 26-27 debt limit for general municipal purposes. Introductory number 239, adoption of the budget estimates for municipal purposes for the 26-27 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein. Introductory number 240, adoption of the budget estimates for school purposes for the 26-27 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein. Introductory number 241, levying taxes for municipal purposes for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30, 2027. Introductory number 242, levying taxes for school purposes for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30, 2027. Introductory number 243, a local improvement ordinance for street cleaning, street and sidewalk snow removal, and hazardous sidewalk repair commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30, 2027. Introductory number 244, confirming the assessments, amounts, and charges to be inserted in the annual tax rolls for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30, 2027. Introductory number 245, amending the municipal code with respect to water rates. Introductory number 246, approving commercial refuse fees and amending the municipal code with respect to residential refuse fees. Introductory number 247, amending the municipal code with respect to parking fees. Introductory number 248, amending the municipal code with respect to monthly parking fees. Introductory number 249, amending the municipal code with respect to fees for licenses and permits. Introductory number 250, a local law amending the city charter with respect to foreclosable tax lien fees. Introductory number 251, amending the municipal code with respect to the changes in the fire prevention code. Introductory number 252, amending the municipal code with respect to towing and storage fees. Introductory number 253, amending the municipal code with respect to the changes in the building code, building permits, and certificate of occupancy fees. And introductory number 254, amending user fees for events at the Blue Cross Arena. This report was respectfully submitted by council members Stanley Martin, Kiera Smith, Ashay Harris, Miguel Melendez, and myself, Mitch Gruber.
Thank you, Chairperson Gruber. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we'll proceed with the vote. Introductory number 203, authorizing an agreement with Puerto Rican Festival Incorporated. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 204, authorizing an agreement with Rochester Community Baseball Incorporated. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 205, authorizing an agreement with Rochester Fringe Festival Incorporated. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 206, authorizing an agreement with the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra for public music performances. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 207, authorizing mandatory agreements relating to Infor public sector licensing, implementation, and managed services extensions. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 208, authorizing an agreement related to IT asset tracking and cyber exposure management solution. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 209, authorizing an agreement related to Microsoft Enterprise Agreement, EA, enrollment. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 210, authorizing a mandatory agreement to service the Children's Savings Account and other asset building programs. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 211, appropriating 2026-27 Annual Action Plan funds and authorizing a mandatory agreement for the Financial Empowerment Center. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 212, authorizing an appointment to the Rochester Civil Service Commission. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 214, authorizing a mandatory agreement with the WXXI Public Broadcasting Council for broadcasting meetings of the City Council and Police Accountability Board. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 215, a resolution approving an appointment to the Board of Ethics. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 213, authorizing a mandatory agreement for labor and employment legal counsel services for the Rochester Police Department, as amended?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge instruction number 213 as amended from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We'll vote on discharging the item from committee as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Any discussion, comments, or concerns related to this introductory? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on introductory number 213 as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 236, amending the 2025-26 budget relating to revenue from the school bus stop arm enforcement program?
Yes, I'd like to thank the Deputy Mayor and Corporation Council for answering some important security questions on this matter and make a motion to discharge introductory number 236 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We'll vote on discharging the item from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any discussion, comments, or concerns related to this introductory? Being none, we'll move to a vote on introductory number 236. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 237, a resolution approving the 2026-27 debt limit for general municipal purposes?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 237 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. There is a disclosure on this item. I am a member of the Rochester Riverside Convention Center Board, but I only am required to disclose the information, but I may participate in discussion and the vote. So we'll now vote on discharging 237 from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any questions, comments, or concerns related to this introductory? All right, we'll move to a vote on introductory number 237. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 238, resolution appointing marriage officer as amended?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend introductory number 238 to also appoint Bridget Birch White as a marriage officer. Can I have a second?
Second.
That's been moved and seconded, so we'll vote on amending introductory number.
Pardon me,
So
President. Can we
to
correct the name
discharge.
from Bridget Birch White? Can we correct the name?
Yes, so I'll explain Bridget Birch White. So we've actually asked for our former deputy clerk to be on call on occasion for weddings specifically. And particularly in the coming months, we have some conflicts that may require some additional outside support. So we are appointing former deputy clerk Bridget Birch White as a marriage officer, in addition to our new deputy clerk, Tremaine Harris.
Mr. President, just a point of information. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure we voted to discharge it yet.
That's what I was.
Right.
I thought we didn't discharge it. Okay, so we're going to discharge the item. So we're going to let's back up. This item is not held in committee. We're just amending it. No worries. All right, we got the right motion on the floor. So we'll vote on amending the item. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Any further discussion?
We love Bridget. We're grateful to see her face more and more.
All right, so hopefully we're around to see her during the day. So we'll vote on introductory number 238 as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 239, adoption of the budget estimates for municipal purposes for the 2026-27 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 239 from committee. Can I have a second?
Been moved and seconded. We'll vote on discharging the item from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. I'm assuming everyone has some discussion on this, so we can go down the line, or we can go out of order. But I would like to lead off on this item. City budget. Prepared some remarks. I did not want to forget any details. So I thought long and hard about this budget vote, more than any other since I've been a city council member. There are a lot of competing priorities and challenges. Let me start with what I appreciate about this budget. First, by commending the mayor, deputy mayor, budget office, and all the leadership team for presenting a challenging yet balanced budget. The process this year with our hearings was really smooth, and your team did a tremendous job presenting the council with the information and closing a large financial gap. I would also like to specifically call out the unexpected increases in medical and pension costs as realities and drivers of much of our challenges. I am voting yes to support all of our frontline union staff. I'm voting yes to pick up the garbage. I'm voting yes to continue our gun violence prevention efforts. I'm voting yes to support our frontline first responders. I'm voting yes to support our crisis intervention units. I'm voting yes to support 911 and 311 calls. I'm voting yes to our neighborhood service centers across the city who do tremendous work supporting our residents. I'm voting yes to the best fire department in the state of New York. I'm voting yes to our officers supporting our neighborhoods, although given our fiscal realities, I'm asking for control in our OT spending. I'm voting yes to our library services. I'm voting yes to our art centers. I'm voting yes to our environmental services on the whole. There's a lot of yes in this budget for me, and I appreciate the work that is happening in every department across the city. Now here are my concerns, mostly fiscal. Fund balance. We are not projected to be at the 12.5% floor. I'm going to sound the fiscal alarm a little bit. I do want to share with my colleagues a resolution. This is from 2017. So in front of my colleagues is 2017-17, establishing a fund balance policy. In Section 3, it states, in the event that the restricted fund balance falls below the minimum amount of required by this policy, the city shall develop and implement a plan that increases the fund balance back to the requested minimum level as soon as practicable and no later than within 3 years. Following the vote on this budget, that clock starts now. I would like to ask the administration to commit to providing the council with a plan to replenish fund balance, understanding that we do not have full projections until the end of the fiscal year. And I would ask, actually right now, can a report be provided to council in the next 6 months or so following our final financial report for the current fiscal year?
Sure. A report on restoring fund balance?
And the plan to.
Yes.
Thank you. The mayor did a tremendous job bringing home additional dollars this year, alongside 5 other cities. In stating that, I want to acknowledge the lack of equitable state aid, which is out of our control, but it is time for Rochester to cry foul loudly and collectively. The state must fix the AIM formula, or provide cities like Rochester its equitable share of resources. Yonkers received $40 million in additional city aid, an additional $20 million over what they were expecting without really asking for it. To me, that is another slap in the face to our city. We can no longer be quiet and silent about the inequities we experience here at home. Buffalo got $1 billion with a B in the past. The Buffalo Bills got a $800 million stadium from state dollars. I know there's a lot of Bills fans in Rochester, but that is a lot of coin. Buffalo continues to receive bailouts and more aid than Rochester. I think enough is enough. We've been talking about this for longer than I've been alive. I'm proposing to this council and the Evans administration that we work collectively together to ensure that we bring home equity for Rochester. While I'm voting yes to this budget for a lot of really good reasons, I will also be exercising some additional leadership and measures in our own department. I will be asking us to withhold 10% of the City Council, Clerk, and PAB spending beginning July 1. This measure will hold resources back, but if our department truly needs it, we will revisit. However, the intent is to pull back spending that will aim to assist in our collective efforts to replenish fund balance. All remaining underrun funds from the council clerk budget this year will be sent back to fund balance unrestricted. I am concerned that the increase of staffing over the last 5 years has detrimentally impacted our budget position. In saying that, I know that means people, real lives. Our employees are our constituents, our citizens. There was a significant reduction in vacant positions eliminated in this budget. However, I am concerned we have not gone far enough. This year's budget is $707 million, roughly. I reflected on the journey. The first budget I voted yes to in 2021 was $561 million. Inflation is a challenge. Capital projects have become more expensive. But as we begin a life without ARPA funding, we need to collectively look closer at this. Being $150 million above where we were 5 years ago is a demonstration of how much the economy and costs have changed post-COVID, whether that is construction costs, inflation, or something else. But also our challenge is to now review what we are doing to gain more efficiencies. In closing, we do good work here in the city of Rochester. The administration has presented us a balanced budget again. We have great programs and services running across the city, but the job of council is to review policy and budget. We are accountability partners, and we must continue to manage our way back to a healthy fund balance and improve cash flow. I will be voting yes. Thank you. Vice President Harris.
Thank you, President Melendez. I just want to echo those remarks that you have made, and I would like to add to those remarks to say that I am pleased that this budget reflects on our commitment to supporting seniors, families, continued economic development like the one in Bull's Head that's coming, youth programming, and then, of course, the unfunded mandates that has happened to our city during COVID, where we needed to put in place things that our city typically did not have to do in the past, which is the PIC team, alternative response measures, and then all of the things that we have done to help our youth with the gun violence crisis, actually the public health crisis in the city. This budget covers all of that despite all of the challenges that we've been facing. And I want to say thank you to our mayor for continuing to support our city with those challenges. And I make a commitment on behalf of our president and our colleagues here to continue to work to replenish the fund balance. Thank you.
Councilmember Lupian.
Yes. I view budgets as moral documents, and the staff did a great job putting it together. It's a lot of work, but my not supporting the budget has nothing to do with the amount of work that was put in. It's the policy decisions that come from the top. This budget to me does not go fast enough or far enough, and it does not meet the moment. I recognize that we're facing a difficult fiscal reality and that resources are limited and hard choices had to be made. But if every department is being asked to tighten its belt, reduce staffing, and do more with less, why does that expectation seem to apply to everyone except the Rochester Police Department? Every year, the RPD gets their biggest budget ever, which, to be honest, doesn't even matter because every year they overspend their budget, so they really just get unlimited money. We continue to budget for vacant police positions that have gone unfilled for years, even as other departments that provide direct services to residents are forced to make cuts. We know that nearly half the police department is eligible to retire in the next 5 years. At some point, we have to ask whether budgeting for these positions that we cannot fill is the best use of our limited dollars. Meanwhile, we continue to underinvest in violence prevention programs like Advanced Peace that have already demonstrated success. Pathways to Peace, Advanced Peace, and our other non-police interventions in cooperation with the police department have helped to significantly reduce violence. Yet we still treat these investments as secondary rather than essential. And we also continue to underinvest in housing during a housing crisis. Every year that we postpone the investments that would help us repair underlying problems, the challenges grow harder to solve and the costs grow higher. There are many positive elements in this budget, and I appreciate, again, the work that went into it. But I can't support a budget that continues to prioritize maintaining the status quo over making the investments necessary to meet the dire challenges in front of us.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Gruber?
Thanks. This was a difficult budget. It was always going to be a difficult budget. We could have known that when ARPA funds were first granted. I'm sure every municipality is dealing with how do we deal with the kind of cliff of ARPA funds. And frankly, it was made more difficult by the fact that we're not in the cash position that we want to be. The state of the economy does a whole lot of damage to sales tax, which, as the mayor mentions regularly, has become the largest source of revenue for our city. And then the reality is that healthcare and retirement costs, which are things that we value as a city because we want people to want to be here and work here and spend their careers here. But the reality is those two things have really outstripped our ability to raise commensurate funds. So it's difficult, and there were no easy choices to be made. There's a lot about this budget that I'm really concerned about. I'm concerned at the number of vacant positions. I hear your point, President Melendez, about staffing generally, but the number of vacant positions that we are cutting, I find concerning, because we're cutting them mostly because they're vacant. I mean, I think about doing the Inner Loop North and getting rid of all of these vacant engineer positions. I think about all the great work happening in code enforcement, but eliminating a vacant code enforcement position. These positions, I think it is in a lot of ways the obvious move to eliminate them now because they're vacant, so that we can maintain the services and the staffing that we have. But I'm very worried about the long-term ramifications of those particular positions. At the same time, I'm worried that we have a police accountability board that we are not eliminating vacant positions despite very little authority at the current moment. I'm incredibly concerned about giving $120 million to a Rochester City School District that doesn't even spend the money, because they're sitting on $500 million in their bank account right now as they vote on their budget. There's just a whole host of things, and I have to echo President Melendez's point about police overtime, which is just an ever-increasing cost to our city. I'm concerned about all those things. The problem is that there's no single simple budget amendment that addresses those concerns, and there's no vote that addresses those concerns. We just have to acknowledge that we're in a new moment, and we're going to have to all kind of hunker down and figure out how we address what the new normal is for our city. At the end of the day, I say all those concerns and acknowledge that the Evans administration put forward a budget that the vast majority of people in this community are not going to see any interruptions in services. They're not going to see any significant spikes to any of the bills they pay for the city. And those things are ultimately, I think, probably the most important for the here and now. So I am going to vote yes, and I'm also going to ask that we sit down, and I recognize that I have some responsibility of this as the chair of the Finance Committee. I'm going to ask for us to sit down, as we talked about in the budget hearing, and spend time with the mayor, the deputy mayor, our budget director, our finance director, and create some kind of mechanisms to really understand this is mostly echoing President Melendez's point, but some of the big things that I just want to acknowledge, and mostly as a reminder to myself to work on some mechanisms for these things. Making sure that we are replenishing fund balance, doing the right advocacy. I agree that, Mayor, you did a remarkable job of making your voice heard in Albany, but we need to be making the MOE and AIM discrepancy known to every single legislator at every time, not just budget time. We need to do a whole lot of close monitoring of the police overtime, in particular, as the Locust Club is the number one hindrance at the moment to being able to expand some of our civilian-led efforts to potentially reduce overtime. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with that, and the only people who can help are, in fact, the courts and New York State. It's not no one in this room, but we need to be doing some advocacy and some monitoring of that. And then, of course, as we talked about, our healthcare costs, which our healthcare is exceptional as a city. That's important. But as we talked about, I know Deputy Mayor Burns will be leading some efforts in re-examining that. And the last note to me would be making sure that some of our services, which actually are eligible for Medicaid reimbursement, that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that starting next year, they are in fact reimbursed by Medicaid. So that's kind of my running list of things to work on. None of those things are helped with a simple amendment here or there. So I will end my remarks and just say, let's get some of this work done in the coming year, and I will be voting yes.
Councilmember Martin.
So I'd like to start by saying thank you to the administration, Director Warren, all the different departments that work together to put this budget together. And of course, a huge thank you to our staff, James, Jen, Dassy, Adrian, Clerk Washington, everyone who helped do this work, and everyone who continues to take care of our city. It's no surprise what my vote will be tonight. It is going to be a no. As many of my colleagues before me have mentioned, I am deeply concerned about the amount of money we spend on policing. This year, we're spending $190 million on policing. That includes pensions. That includes positions that are vacant with no reasonable expectation to ever fill those positions. To me, it's hard to understand how in one breath we're saying we have a budget deficit, we're struggling to make ends meet, and in the next breath we fund police at the highest amount they have ever been in the history of this city. My no vote also is because I feel that this budget fails to take care of some of the people who keep us safe. We've heard a lot of issues around safety when it comes to security guards, need for certain equipment to feel safe. When I walk into this room and I see security guards around, I feel extremely safe. I see how they de-escalate, and I would like for the folks who are on the front lines to be paid equitably in the same way other departments on the front lines are getting paid. Finally, it is my deepest hope that within my time on this council, I will see a budget that equitably invests in alternative responses, rent supports for people who simply can't make ends meet because of inflation and all the other issues we're seeing in this country. My no vote does not critique, again, any of the important work so many folks in this city are doing. But for me, this budget just fails to meet the majority of the needs of our community.
Councilmember Smith.
Like my colleagues, I also want to acknowledge all the great work that everyone in the city does every day to make things run smoothly, especially the work that was done around the budget. Again, Jen, James, Dassey, Adrian, Aiden, Clerk Washington, and the rest of the staff. Thank you guys so much for being available and for answering questions as needed. Budgets are more than numbers. As Mary said, they are moral documents, and they tell a story of what we value as a city. They show our residents who we invest in, what challenges we're willing to confront, and what kind of future we're working to build. They are records that will tell stories of what we held important. I have heard a consistent message from residents across our city. People want safe neighborhoods, but they also want stable housing. They want mental health support for those in crisis. They want opportunities for young people. They want clean neighborhoods. They want violence prevented before it starts. They want us to address the conditions that create crisis, not simply react when someone gets hurt. When I was running for office, people were not asking for larger police budgets. They were asking why families are struggling to keep a roof over their heads. They were asking why young people lack positive opportunities. They were asking why neighbors facing mental health challenges have nowhere to turn. They were asking why the same communities continue to carry the heaviest burdens of the city's drug crisis while being ignored when they ask for help. I support public safety and I respect those who have chosen a career in law enforcement. But public safety is bigger than policing. Public safety is when a child has a safe place to sleep, when a family can afford to stay housed, when someone in crisis receives care and support. It begins when young people have access to hope. Residents have been clear. They want greater investment in prevention. They want stronger support for programs like violent prevention initiatives, such as the PIC program, such as the Action Team, and trusted community organizations already doing the work of healing, de-escalating conflict, and supporting families before emergencies happen. I am also deeply concerned that this budget does not provide a clear path forward for Peace Village or another meaningful alternative for our unhoused neighbors. Our communities are strained, residents are frustrated, the people living there deserve dignity, and surrounding neighborhoods deserve solutions. As elected officials, our responsibility is not simply to fund systems. It is to listen to the people we serve, especially those whose voices are often overlooked. When I look at this budget through that lens, I cannot support it. I'm asking us to have a broader vision of public safety, one that includes housing, mental health prevention, intervention, and community, one that recognizes enforcement alone cannot solve challenges rooted in poverty, trauma, disinvestment, and a lack of opportunity. I respect those who may vote differently, and I remain committed to working with my colleagues to move Rochester forward. But my first obligation is to the residents who trusted me with this role and to those who needs are the greatest. For this reason, I will be voting no to this budget.
Any additional comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Leslie Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
No.
Councilmember Martin,
No.
Councilmember Monroe,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Absolutely.
Councilmember Smith,
No.
Vice President Harris,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. We'll now move on to introductory number 240, adoption of the budget estimates for school purposes for the 2026-27 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein. There are two disclosures on this item. Council Vice President Harris and Councilmember Lupian have both submitted disclosure of interest forms. As they are both employees of the Rochester City School District, they must both recuse and abstain from this item. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to this?
I'd like to make a motion to discharge instruct number 240 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We will vote on discharging from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Stay.
2 abstentions. All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I guess I'll lead off. I'll lead off, and then I'll go to Councilmember Patterson. Couple things. While we sit here in Chambers tonight, not too far away from us, RCSD is currently amending their budget yet again. The budget in front of us, for the 4th time, is not the budget they plan to go into effect on July 1st with. The budget in front of this council for consideration ultimately has a $4 million deficit as a result of receiving less state aid in the New York State budget than anticipated. In good conscience, on that principle alone, I cannot vote for this budget. I can't make heads or tails of all the things that have changed. Even with all the follow-up from RCSD, the budget book is not clear, it is not transparent, and I look forward to working with RCSD to improve that over the coming year. I do appreciate the superintendent's work on this budget. He gave me the time of day and spent some significant energy sharing his changes with our council. I appreciate the reduction in cuts overall to programs, but in a time of crisis, I struggle to imagine a world where we cut social emotional programs, guidance counselors, social workers, home hospital program, food service, and clerical workers. I look forward to working with the superintendent to ensure there is clarity in the future on the budget process. While our vote is largely symbolic, for all of these reasons and many more that I don't want to waste any time on because it's symbolic, I will be voting a strong no. Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you. To the administration, do we know what their new amended budget is? Do we have that information yet?
I wasn't even aware they had amended it again.
Okay.
They have the adopted budget on their website.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional comments? Councilmember Gruber, and we'll go down the line.
Yeah, I mean it's always a symbolic vote. I think in my 9 years we voted no on the council budget, on the RCSD budget 2 or 3 times, and the next day it's gone back and just gone to exactly what they submitted it as. Never felt more symbolic though, because we literally don't know what we're voting on. They are amending it as we speak, and understandably, that's in part because they were waiting and beholden to a state budget, and they didn't know what they were going to get from the state budget. just doesn't make sense. The symbolism of this vote doesn't make sense, and it also doesn't make sense that we as a city, who we just talked about our cash position, are giving $120 million to an organization that has about $500 million sitting in a bank account. But that's also something that is beyond the control of this council. Since I don't know exactly what I'm voting on, and I know that my vote doesn't actually matter, I'm going to vote yes as a sign of hope for Dr. Rosser. That's the best I can do. And I've asked him, and I'm going to follow this up with a letter that I'll certainly circulate to all of council if they'd like to join. I've asked Dr. Rosser to do a couple things, and I'm going to follow up this way. First of all, the narrative in the RCSD budget is, I've been a broken record on this with them, it's shameful. If you are a parent in the district, as I am, you simply can't make heads or tails of what they're spending money on. So I've asked him to work with us, and hopefully Suzanne and your team are going to be willing to help as well, just to think about how to actually include some budget narrative that would be helpful and useful to everyone. The RCSD board no longer has a finance committee, which is, I guess, their new model. They don't have committees anymore, apparently. So I'm going to ask that Dr. Rosser provides some kind of quarterly reports to the Rochester City Council Finance Committee so that we have some clarity, maybe not anything different, but at least what he's providing to their finance committee, so we have some clarity. And I'd like to have an internal team to make sure that we all know what they are doing. And certainly we'll be reaching out to our finance and budget teams. And then I really want to understand their fund balance policy, which just before this meeting, Dr. Rosser sent to me in writing, and I sent it to staff to forward on to everyone as well, to make sure that we are not simply shuffling money around with no end in sight. So I'm going to follow up with those things, and tonight I'm going to, because it's a blind symbolic vote anyways, I'm going to give a tip of the cap to Dr. Rosser, who I think is giving it his best and is here hopefully for the long haul, and we'll be voting yes.
Councilmember Leslie Smith.
Well, I want to begin by acknowledging what has already been stated, and everyone already knows that this vote is largely symbolic. Regardless of how City Council votes tonight, the city's maintenance of effort obligation remains. That reality is one of the most frustrating parts of this process for me. I would have preferred the opportunity to engage in a way that meaningfully shaped the outcomes of this budget. Unfortunately, the way our system is structured, it does not allow for that. Even so, I take this vote seriously because it is one of the few opportunities we have to express confidence or concern. I appreciate many of the investments reflected in this budget, including supports for literacy, early childhood education, community schools, family engagement, and student services. I also recognize the difficult work that goes into balancing a budget of this size. And yet, at the same time, I remain concerned about the initial proposed cuts to social workers, counselors, preventative support services in a district where those services are critically needed. While I appreciate that many of those positions were restored, I still have questions about why they were proposed for elimination in the first place and whether or not alternatives were ever considered. I also have questions about the district's fund balance, financial reporting, and accountability. And to be clear, I am not alleging any kind of wrongdoing whatsoever. I am not condemning this administration. In fact, I believe the leadership should be given the opportunity to show itself through both action and results. I have sought out opportunities to build that relationship and understanding because I believe trust matters. But at this moment, I do not yet have enough confidence to vote yes. So tonight, my vote is not against our students. It's not against our educators. It's not even against the leadership or the future of the Rochester City School District. It is a vote rooted in stewardship, transparency, and principle. And so for those reasons, I will be voting no.
Councilmember Martin, followed by Councilmember Monroe.
Yeah, echoing my colleague's statements, I will be voting no, simply in solidarity with students, teachers, the teachers union, and impacted residents who have shown up here and asked us to oppose the budget.
Councilmember Monroe.
I will be voting no on the budget. Again, as has been stated, it is symbolic. Whether or not we vote yay or nay, within 30 days, it will be passed. The fact that we are voting on a budget that isn't even the budget, given the fact that they're amending it right now over on Broad Street, again, does not make sense and underscores how flawed this system is, including the piece of continuing our maintenance of effort, the $119.1 million that we give the school district, which if we look at per capita, again, the city of Rochester is paying more than our sister cities to the east and west of us, to Syracuse and Buffalo. In addition to the fact that, you know, the other big five get more money for their city budgets as well, and is something that we continue to have to fight for. One of the disturbing things with this budget for me was the look to reduce the level of social emotional supports. We know that so many of the students in the Rochester City School District are dealing with a lot of trauma. Poverty itself presents so many problems and makes life so much more complex and unstable for children that they don't know how to deal with those very adult types of things. And if you have children in classrooms who aren't being filled up with a belief in themselves, some stability, you can't expect them to come to a classroom and pay attention and care about what their grades are going to be, which is a larger issue of you know, teaching to the test being problematic too, because that doesn't necessarily capture every student's way of learning. But I will be voting no on this budget. I think that we can do far better by our children by offering preventative services and being able to model those things that we wish to see happening in the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
So I'm also going to be standing in solidarity with the families and children of the Rochester City School District who have reached out to me and asked me to vote no against this budget. As everyone has already stated, I think one of the biggest shockers to me was the cut in critical services that so many of our young people need. As you all know, that I'm a huge advocate around mental health services on behalf of our children. So that was one of many deciding factors, as well as, you know, the cut to school lunch programs. We know a lot of our children go to school just so they can eat some of them. So I will also be voting no against this budget.
Councilmember Patterson, I know you asked a question. Do you have any comment? All right, so we'll move to a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber.
Sure.
Councilmember Leslie Smith.
No.
Councilmember Lupien.
Abstain.
Councilmember Martin.
No.
Councilmember Monroe.
No.
Councilmember Patterson.
No.
Councilmember Smith.
No.
Vice President Harris.
Abstain.
President Melendez.
No. Motion fails. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 241, levying taxes for municipal purposes for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027?
I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 241 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, let's vote on discharging introductory 241 from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Any questions, comments, or concerns related to this introductory? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on introductory 241. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory 242, levying taxes for school purposes for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027. There are two disclosures on this item. Council Vice President Harris and Councilmember Lupien have both submitted disclosure of interest forms. They must recuse and abstain from this item. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to this?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 242 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We will vote on discharging from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Open it up for discussion. Seeing none. Let's vote on introductory number 242. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have 2 abstentions. Is that correct? Yes. All right. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 243, a local improvement ordinance for street cleaning, street and sidewalk snow removal, and hazardous sidewalk repair commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 243 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. We'll vote on discharging 243 from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any questions, comments, or concerns related to this item? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on introductory number 243. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 244, confirming the assessments, amounts, and charges to be inserted in the annual tax rolls for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2026 and expiring June 30th, 2027?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 244 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We'll vote on discharging from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Move to a vote on introductory number 244. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 245, amending the municipal code with respect to water rates?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 245 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded. We'll vote on discharging. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, we'll move to vote on introductory number 245. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 246, approving commercial refuse fees and amending the municipal code with respect to residential refuse services?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 246 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote on discharging from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any discussion? Now we'll vote on introductory number 246. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 247, amending the municipal code with respect to parking fees?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 247 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Now we'll vote on discharge and introductory number 247 from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote on introductory 247. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 248, amending the municipal code with respect to monthly parking fees?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 248 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, so we'll vote on discharging from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any discussion? All right, we will vote on introductory 248. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 249, amending the municipal code with respect to fees for licenses and permits?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 249 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Let's vote on discharging the item from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to vote on introductory 249. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 250, a local law amending the city charter with respect to foreclosable tax lien fees?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 250 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Let's vote on discharging from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Discussion? Let's vote on introductory to 250. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Roll call? Sorry about that. We actually will do a roll call on this item as it is a local law.
Councilmember Gruber,
Yes.
Councilmember Leslie Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupien,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Monroe,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith, Vice President Harris,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 251, amending the municipal code with respect to changes in the fire prevention code?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 251 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
We'll vote on discharging the item from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Discussion? Now let's vote on introductory 251. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 252, amending the municipal code with respect to towing and storage fees?
I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 252 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
We'll vote on discharging number 252 from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on introductory 252. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion related to introductory number 253, amending the municipal code with respect to the changes in the building code, building permit fees, certificate of occupancy fees?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 253 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Let's vote on discharging the introductory from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any further discussion? I believe we have an amendment on this item. Let's see.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend instructor number 253 to correct various portions of the legislation related to installation fees for certain structures, as well as to include inadvertent emissions from the existing municipal code. I believe those amendments are on the pink handout. Is that correct?
No, I think those amendments came earlier in the process. Give us a moment. We can pass one down if anyone would like to take a look. So we'll pause here for a moment to allow council members to take a quick look in case they have not had a chance to look at it. And while folks are looking at that, we have a motion, but we'll wait for the second and then we'll open for discussion.
President, I'll second it.
All right, it's been seconded. We'll still pause, but we'll open it for discussion if there's any questions. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any questions at this point before we amend it? Seeing none, we will move to a vote on the amendment of introductory number 253. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Any additional questions, comments, concerns on this introductory? Hearing none. We'll move to a vote on introductory number 253 as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Gruber, do you have a motion for introductory number 254, amending user fees for events at the Blue Cross Arena?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 254 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, let's vote on discharging introductory number 254 from committee. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any discussion? All right, let's vote on introductory number 254. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, before we move on to PPPW, a comment for us and a reflection. I hope next year we will move all the budget items out of committee, even though that we certainly know that we have some more discussion to be had, just because this is an arduous process to do it the other way. So just for consideration, we'll have that discussion and consider that next year. Chairperson Monroe, the People Parks and Public Works Committee report, please.
To the Council, the People, Parks, and Public Works Committee recommends for adoption the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 216, authorizing appropriations for the Broadway and South Union Street Improvement Project. Introductory number 217, authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marcelli program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project, the Broadway and South Union Street Improvement Project, and appropriating funds therefor. Introductory number 218, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements relating to the Riverway Main to Andrews East project. Introductory number 219, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $4,134,000 $4,134,000 bonds of said city to finance the Riverway Main to Andrews East project. Introductory number 220, appropriating funds and authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to the Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative projects along the Genesee River. Introductory number 221, authorizing a professional services agreement related to Central Vehicle Maintenance Facility Building 200 generator replacement. Introductory number 222, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $1,300,000 bonds of said city to finance a cleanup and site preparation project for the Olean Kennedy redevelopment area. Introductory number 223, authorizing agreement relating to a cleanup and site preparation project for the Olean Kennedy redevelopment area. Introductory 224, bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $600,000 bonds of said city to finance part of the environmental remediation of the portion of former vacuum oil refinery brownfield cleanup site. Introductory number 225, authorizing an amendatory agreement relating to environmental remediation of the portion of former vacuum oil refinery brownfield cleanup site. Introductory number 226, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement related to the Monroe County Youth Bureau. Introductory number 227, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing an agreement for the International Plaza. Introductory number 228, authorizing a mandatory agreement with Rochester Emergency Veterinary Services, Inc. Introductory number 229, authorizing a grant agreement related to developmental disabilities accessible transportation. Introductory number 230, authorizing a grant agreement to support crisis intervention services. Introductory number 231, authorizing a grant agreement with New York State Office of Mental Health related to Daniel's Law Pilot Program. Introductory number 232, authorizing funding and agreements for the 2026 Summer Food Service Program. Introductory number 233, authorizing an agreement for youth professional development. The People, Parks, and Public Works Committee recommends for the following entitled legislation to be held in committee. Introductory number 255, authorizing amendatory agreements pertaining to 2026 summer literacy programming for elementary school children. Respectfully submitted by myself, Bridget Monroe, Mitch Gruber, Michael Patterson, Lachey D. Harris, and Miguel Melendez.
Thank you, Chairperson Monroe. That report will be received, filed, and published, and will proceed with the vote. Introductory number 216, authorizing appropriations for the Broadway and South Union Street Improvement Project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 217, authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance, 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project, the Broadway and South Union Street Improvement Project, and appropriating funds therefore. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 218, appropriating funds and authorizing agreements relating to the Riverway Main to Andrews East project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 219, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $4,134,000 bonds of said city to finance the Riverway Main to Andrews East project. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Gruber, Councilmember Leslie Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupien, Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Monroe, Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember Smith, Vice President Harris,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Introductory number 220, appropriating funds and authorizing a mandatory agreement related to the Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative projects along the Genesee River. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 221, authorizing a professional services agreement related to Central Vehicle Maintenance Facility Building 200 generator replacement project. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 222, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $1,300,000 bonds of said city to finance a cleanup and site preparation project for the Olean Kennedy redevelopment area. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Gruber, Councilmember Leslie Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Monroe, Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember Smith, Vice President Harris,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Introductory number 223, authorizing agreement relating to a cleanup and site preparation project for the Olean Kennedy redevelopment area. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 224, a bond ordinance of the City of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $600,000 bonds of said city to finance part of the environmental remediation of the portion of former vacuum oil refinery brownfield cleanup site. This requires a roll call.
Councilmember Gruber, Councilmember Leslie Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Monroe, Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember Smith, Vice President Harris,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Introductory number 225, authorizing the mandatory agreement relating to environmental remediation of the portion of former vacuum oil refinery brownfield cleanup site. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 226, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement related to the Monroe County Youth Bureau. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 227, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds and authorizing an agreement for the International Plaza. For this item, I have one disclosure to make. I am an employee of Ibero-American Action League. Therefore, I am recusing myself from both the deliberations and the vote on this matter. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention. I abstain. Motion carries 801. Introductory number 228. Authorizing a mandatory agreement with Rochester Emergency Veterinary Services, Incorporated. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 229. Authorizing a grant agreement related to the developmental disabilities, accessible transportation. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 230, authorizing a grant agreement to support crisis intervention services. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 231, authorizing a grant agreement with New York State Office of Mental Health related to Daniel's Law pilot program. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 232, authorizing funding and agreements for the 2026 Summer Food Service Program. There are two disclosures on this item. Vice President Harris and Councilmember Lupian, as they are both members of the city school district, employed by the city school district. They are required to disclose only and can participate in discussion in the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 233. Authorizing an agreement for youth professional development. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chairperson Monroe, do you have a motion related to introductory number 255, authorizing mandatory agreements pertaining to the 2026 summer literacy programming for elementary school children?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to discharge introductory number 255 from committee. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, let's vote on discharging the item from committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Any questions, comments, or concerns related to this item? Hearing none, we'll move. Oh, sorry. Got to pipe up. All right, Councilmember Leslie Smith, followed by Councilmember who was over here. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to echo my earlier sentiments that I had about the other items that have been put forth, that I do think it is important. And I believe that all of my colleagues are in agreement that we are going to have some conversation and discussion around what the role of City Council should be in terms of putting forth funding for these types of programming. I do not believe that we as fiscal managers for the city should be necessarily funding programs like this. I don't think it's sustainable. I think we should be partnering, and we should be introducing folks to different foundations. We should be supporting our existing city departments, et cetera. So, just to our earlier conversation, this is a vote because I believe, like with all the others, I want to get there to where we can get those resources through. And I do want to just put on the record that a lot of what I am maybe saying yes to right now would be very different for me next year. I'm a very new to politics, new councilwoman, and I want to just trust the process and believe that everyone is making the best decisions. But I do believe that with more experience under my belt, with more time under my belt, that it would probably be reinforced, all of the things that I'm saying now. And so if we come to a place next year where we have these kinds of items coming forward, it would likely be a no from me just because of all of what I already stated. But happy to be in support of it this year, and very hopeful that we can come to some kind of agreement as to what our processes will be in the future.
Any additional comments? Councilmember Martin.
Yeah, is there a no RFP justification for this item? Is that somewhere?
Yes, it's in there.
It was not attached in the legislation.
Okay. James?
We thought there was one, yeah.
I'm looking at it.
So it's an amendment to an existing contract from last year. So those would be on file, I believe, with last year's legislation.
Gotcha. So earlier today, people expressed that they didn't vote for the legislation around supporting the immigrant community based on a vote against a school. Leadership looks like supporting things that take care of our community. So despite the way you chose to move, I'm still going to lead. I'm going to move with integrity, and I'm going to support this because it benefits our community.
Thank you.
Any additional comments? Councilmember Lupien, followed by Councilmember Patterson.
I just want to praise Councilmember Martin's leadership and collaborative spirit.
Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you.
All right. I thought there was more than that. All right. So we will move to a vote on introductory number 255. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Vice President Harris, the lengthy Public Safety Committee report, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, President Melendez. To the Council, the Public Safety Committee recommends adoption for the following entitled legislation. Introductory number 234, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds for smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector installation program. This report was respectfully submitted by Council members Mitch Gruber, Dr. LaShonda Leslie Smith, Mary Lupien, Stanley Martin, Bridget A. Monroe, Michael A. Patterson, Kiara Kiki Smith, President Melendez, Miguel A. Melendez Jr., and myself, Vice President Lachey D. Harris.
Thank you, Vice President Harris. That report will be received, filed, and published, and we will proceed with the vote. Introductory number 234, appropriating 2026-27 annual action plan funds for a smoke detector and carbon monoxide installation program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we are going to go back to one quick item. Introductory number 243. It was a local improvement ordinance. We logged a 9-0 vote, but we do have to do a roll call, so I'll read it out again. Introductory number 243. Local improvement ordinance, street cleaning, street and sidewalk, snow removal, and hazardous sidewalk repair commencing July 1, 2026, and expiring June 30th, 2027. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Gruber, Councilmember Leslie Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Lupian,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Monroe,
Yes.
Councilmember Patterson, Councilmember Smith, Vice President Harris,
Yes.
President Melendez.
Yes. That motion carries. Better to be on the safe side. With no further business, we stand adjourned.